A massive crack just appeared in Kenya, overnight, 1 kilometer long, deep enough to swallow cars, and nobody saw it coming. But here's what's truly terrifying. That crack isn't a freak accident, it's a warning. Because right now, beneath the feet of 120 million people, the African continent is being torn apart by forces so powerful, they're creating Earth's newest ocean. And scientists just discovered something that changes everything we thought we knew about what's coming next. Welcome back to the Curiosity Beast, where we uncover the secrets hiding beneath our feet. Today, we're diving into one of the most dramatic geological events happening on Earth right now. A 6,500-kilometer crack that's ripping Africa in two. And the question isn't if it will happen. The question is what happens when it does. Because the answer might be far more catastrophic than anyone imagined. Let's start with what we can see. The Great Rift Valley. It stretches from Lebanon in the north all the way down to Mozambique in the south. It's so massive, astronauts can see it from space. On the surface, it looks peaceful, beautiful even. Lakes, wildlife, breathtaking landscapes. But underneath, it's one of the most violently active tectonic zones on the planet. For over 20 million years, a colossal force has been pulling Africa apart. Slowly, relentlessly, cutting through Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania. And it's not stopping. Scientists have measured it. The crack is widening by 7 millimeters every single year. Now, 7 millimeters doesn't sound like much, but over millions of years, that adds up. And here's where it gets wild. If this continues, the entire eastern side of Africa, including parts of Ethiopia, Somalia, Kenya, and Tanzania, will break away completely. They'll become a brand new continent, floating in a brand new ocean. The map of Africa that we've known for our entire lives will be unrecognizable. But here's the twist, and this is where things get controversial. Some scientists now believe Africa splitting apart might actually be the best case scenario, because there's another possibility. One that's far more terrifying, and recent volcanic activity suggests it might already be happening. Let me explain. To understand what's really going on, we need to talk about tectonic plates. Underneath Africa, there are two massive plates. The Nubian plate, which carries most of the continent, and the Somali plate, which carries the Horn of Africa in the east. For millions of years, these plates were thought to be one solid piece. But in the 1970s, geologists discovered something shocking. Africa wasn't one plate. It was two, and they've been pulling apart since the age of the dinosaurs. This pulling apart is what creates the East African Rift. It's what's called a divergent boundary. The plates are literally moving away from each other, and to make things worse, both plates are also separating from the Arabian plate to the north. This creates a Y-shaped rift system in Ethiopia, a geological nightmare called a triple junction. Three massive plates, all pulling in different directions, and the tension is building. Now here's how this works. The Earth's crust, the solid ground we walk on, is actually incredibly thin. Geologists compare it to the skin of an apple. Beneath that thin crust is the mantle, a layer of semi-solid rock that behaves like thick, slow-moving syrup. And deep below that is Earth's core, which is as hot as the surface of the sun. That heat creates currents in the mantle. Hot rock rises, spreads out, cools, and sinks back down, and those currents drag the continents around like pieces on a game board. This process, called continental drift, is what broke apart the ancient supercontinent Gondwana 180 million years ago. It's what separated Africa from South America. It's what created the Atlantic Ocean. And it's happening again, right now, in Africa. Drop a comment. Do you think Africa will actually split in two? Or is this just geological hype? I want to hear your predictions. So what's driving this split? Scientists believe there's a superheated plume of magma rising up from deep inside the Earth, directly underneath the East African Rift. Think of it like a blowtorch pointed at the bottom of the continent. The heat is pushing upward, stretching and weakening the crust above it, and eventually that crust is going to break. We've seen this happen before. About 30 million years ago, the exact same process created the Red Sea. The Arabian plate separated from the Nubian plate. The land above it stretched and thinned, and then it collapsed. The Indian Ocean rushed in, and boom, a new sea was born. The same thing is happening in East Africa right now. The rift is above sea level for now, but if it continues to widen, the land will sink, And when it does, the Indian Ocean will flood in, creating Earth's sixth ocean. Ken McDonald, a geophysicist at the University of California, says it's inevitable. Eventually, this area will become its own small continent, a new island in the Indian Ocean, and the shape of Africa will be completely transformed. But here's the question everyone's asking. How long will it take? At the current rate of 7 millimeters per year, it would take tens of millions of years for the split to complete. So we're safe, right? None of us will be around to see it. Our kids won't. Their kids won't. It's a problem for the distant future. Except, and this is where things get interesting, recent evidence suggests the process might not be as slow as we think. In 2005, a massive crack suddenly appeared in Ethiopia. It was 60 kilometers long and 8 meters wide, and it opened in a matter of days. Scientists were stunned. They thought rifting was supposed to be gradual, but this was violent, fast, and it was triggered by the Dabahu volcano, which had been dormant for all of recorded history. Then in 2018, another massive crack opened in Kenya. This one was a kilometer long. It split a highway in half. Videos went viral. People panicked. Was Africa splitting apart right in front of us? Well, not exactly. Geologists now believe that crack was caused by heavy rainfall washing away volcanic ash that had hidden the crevice for centuries. It wasn't new. It was just suddenly exposed. But here's the thing. Even though that specific crack wasn't proof of rifting, the volcanic activity in the region is increasing. And that's what has scientists concerned. If you're still watching, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because what I'm about to tell you changes everything. Here's where the story takes a dark turn. You see, it's possible that Africa won't split apart at all. And believe it or not, that might be worse. Let me explain. There's a phenomenon called a failed rift. It's when a continental rift starts to open but then stalls. The plates stop moving. The cracks stop spreading. And all that pressure, all that magma pushing up from below has nowhere to go except up. And when that happens, you don't get a new ocean. You get a volcanic apocalypse. The best example of this is the mid-continent rift in North America. About 1 billion years ago, a massive rift started to tear North America into 3 pieces. It stretched 3,000 kilometers across what is now the Midwest. It was powerful enough to create Lake Superior, and it was ready to split the continent, and then it just stopped. The rift failed, and instead of opening, it erupted. Over 2 million cubic kilometers of lava poured out onto the surface. Individual lava flows exceeded 600 cubic kilometers. That's enough lava to bury the entire state of Texas under 30 meters of molten rock. And this wasn't just one eruption. There were hundreds of thousands of eruptions. Everything in the path of that lava was obliterated. Now here's the terrifying part. The East African rift is 3 times bigger than the mid-continent rift, and it's showing all the same warning signs. Volcanic activity is increasing. The Nyiragongo volcano in the Democratic Republic of Congo erupted in 1977, producing the fastest-moving lava flow ever recorded, 60 kilometers per hour. It erupted again in 2002 and again in 2021. The Oldonyo Lengai volcano in Tanzania, dormant for decades, suddenly erupted in 2007. And it's still showing signs of activity. And then there's the Dabahu volcano in Ethiopia. It began to swell in 2005. Swelling means the magma chamber below is filling, pressure is building, and when volcanoes swell, eruptions follow. There are 78 active volcanoes in the East African rift, and they're waking up. Cynthia Ebinger, one of the world's leading experts on rifting, warns that if the East African rift behaves like the mid-continent rift, we could be looking at eruptive lava flows that cover half of Ethiopia, most of Kenya, and extend into Uganda and Tanzania. The scale of destruction would be unimaginable. Millions of people would be displaced. Entire ecosystems would be wiped out, and the ash cloud from those eruptions could cool the planet, triggering crop failures and famine on a global scale. For comparison, the largest eruptive eruption in history was in Iceland in 1783. It produced just 14 cubic kilometers of lava, and it killed a quarter of Iceland's population. The haze from that eruption reached Syria. Crops failed across Europe. Now imagine an eruption 1,000 times larger in one of the most populated regions of Africa. And here's the kicker. The lava in this region is different. It's called carbonatite lava, and it stays liquid at much lower temperatures than normal lava, about 500 degrees Celsius compared to over 1,000 for typical lava. That means it flows faster, further, and it doesn't solidify as quickly. In other words, once it starts flowing, it's almost impossible to stop. So what's the verdict? Is Africa splitting in two, or are we looking at a volcanic disaster? Honestly, we don't know yet. The data suggests both scenarios are possible. The rift could continue to widen slowly over millions of years, eventually creating a new ocean, or the pressure could build until it erupts catastrophically, covering the region in lava. What we do know is that the geological forces at work here are massive, unstoppable, and accelerating. So here's my question for you. If you had to choose, would you rather see Africa slowly split apart over millions of years, or would you risk the volcanic eruption happening sooner, but giving us a chance to prepare? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you made it this far, comment "New Ocean Incoming" so I know you watched till the end. The Curiosity Beast is all about exploring the forces of nature that shape our world in ways we never expected. If you love this kind of content, subscribe, hit the bell, and join our community of curious minds who refuse to look away from the biggest mysteries on Earth. Because right now, beneath Africa, the planet is making a decision. And when it does, the world will never be the same. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.